Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Discover the Divine Power and Love of the Black Madonna, a path to self-acceptance and transformation. My name is Stephen Dinan. I'm the founder and CEO of the Shift Network, and I'm really blessed to be with you here, getting to explore one of the seminal figures that's often cloaked in mystery and has a lot of power and depth and meaning, which is the figure of the Black Madonna, which is both historically important and spiritually important for reasons that I think we'll all discover more about today. We're going to get to explore this with a remarkable teacher. Her name is Dr. Christena Cleveland. She's a social psychologist, public theologian, author, and activist. And we're going to learn more about her path, the Black Madonna, as well. So, Dr. Cleveland, welcome to today's program.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Great. Well, I want to let everyone know up front, we're going to dive deep with Dr. Cleveland. We're going to do some experiential, and we have a chance to go much deeper in a brand new upcoming program that's all about embodying your sacred wholeness through the Black Madonna. So we'll share a little bit about that towards the end of the hour. So, Dr. Cleveland, why don't you begin our journey here today with a bit about your journey and why the Black Madonna became such a powerful spiritual guide and figure in your life?
Thank you. I actually encountered the Black Madonna in a similar way to most people. I was desperate. I found myself in my mid-30s and just awakened to my femininity, and in the wake of the Me Too movement, just learning a lot about the ways in which our society is anti-woman and how many ways I needed to heal from that. And then also around the same time, there was the Black Lives Matter movement. And so I was really, really, really looking at my identity in the context of our society. And even though I had grown up in spiritual spaces, I realized that in my head and in my body deep down, I wasn't quite sure that the divine could relate to my experience as a woman and as a Black person. In my head, God was a white man, even though I probably would have refuted that verbally. And so I found myself in this state in my mid-30s where I was asking myself, if I really, really, really believe that I'm sacred, then why can't I stand up for myself? Why can't I speak my truth? Why am I so afraid of what other people think? Why am I at war with my body? And it's so hard for me to love and spread lavish care on my body. Why am I afraid? Why am I afraid that I'm alone? Is there a divine being that's out there that's also here with me and relating to me and my embodied experience as a Black person, as a woman? And so I started frantically searching for images of the divine that look like me. And I didn't have to look far, surprisingly. I found the Black Madonna in kind of the rogue depths of Catholicism. And as soon as I saw her image, as soon as I saw her Black and female image, my entire biology changed. I released a breath. I think it was the first full body breath I had experienced in my whole life. And I realized in that moment, I had been holding my breath. I had these questions that had been rumbling within me since I was a little girl. Is God with me? Does God relate to me? Does God care about the things that matter to me? Those were all answered in that one glimpse of a Black Madonna. And so at the time, I was a professor at Duke Divinity School in North Carolina, and I had some professional development funds. So after a couple of years of doing online research and book research on the Black Madonna, I went to Central France and visited 18 Black Madonnas. I walked over 400 miles to encounter them in these little tiny mountain villages. And that journey, that first pilgrimage 5 years ago, changed my life. It transformed my entire identity. Now I'm constantly saying, I'm too sacred for this. And I'm constantly standing in my truth, and I'm constantly facing my fears because I know that there's a divine being who can relate to my experience and is walking the earth the way that I walk the earth, and can really connect with every single body on this planet, every single being. And so, my journey led to teaching because I was automatically in that time. I was already teaching. I was already a professor. And so I started to invite my students into this this embodied theology, a different way of looking at the divine through the Black Madonna and the many, many ways that she shows up in this world and has shown up across history and across religions. And she's just everywhere. And so I moved into a teaching space because I was so transformed by her.
Well, Dr. Cleveland, what an awesome story that you have, and really gives a sense for the transformative power of building this relationship. So since you have this background as a teacher and a scholar, I'd love for maybe start from like a little bit on the high level scholarly aspect and then go into the spiritual transformational dimension of that. How does it become personalized as part of somebody's journey to work with Black Madonna directly?
Yeah. So one of the things that's really interesting to me as a scholar of the Black Madonna is that among the Marian shrines around the world, so the shrines that are devoted to Mary, the Black Madonna just makes up a teeny tiny slice of those. There are many, many, many more white Madonnas around the world than Black Madonnas. However, the most popular Marian shrines tend to be Black Madonna shrines more often than not. So there's something really, really special about the Black Madonna and how she draws millions and millions of people relative to some of the other shrines. There's something really powerful about her. And so one of the things I've been really interested in as a scholar is, what is it about her Blackness? How is her Blackness special and perhaps a key to us understanding her power, and why people for thousands of years and all over the world have been drawn to her in like really, really, really high numbers. And one of the things that I've discovered as I've looked at different Black Madonna scholars, poets, artists over the centuries is that so many people find their personal experience within her. Her Blackness has multitudes, it has depths to it. And so just like the color Black has every single color, it encompasses all the colors. Her Blackness encompasses more than we can possibly imagine about the human experience. And so people of all races can find themselves and find their stories in the Black Madonna. People of all genders can find themselves in their stories in the Black Madonna. There are stories that are across the gamut along sexuality, along religion, along class. What's fascinating about her is her Blackness can be mined for its wisdom and its depth over and over and over again. And so within her Blackness, within her experience, within her purview is like both love and justice, both unconditional acceptance and accountability, both immanence and transcendence. She is roaming the skies and the universe, and she's also deeply seated in the soil beneath us and in the roots that nourish us. And one of the things that I love so much about her is that across history, as I've read stories and songs about her that people have written and told across generations, people love to give her unique names. And she has more than 10,000 unique names that speak specifically to the community's unique relationship with her and what they're looking for from her and how she's showing up in their lives and what she's inviting them into, whether it's a more expansive view of her connection to the earth, or whether it's a stronger stance that's rooted in truth-telling and justice. And also how she's showing up in these very unique, specific ways. And so I just love the ways that she's just named all over and over and over again.
I love that perspective where the Blackness actually creates a more full spectrum mirror for our whole humanity. I love that. That's really interesting insight. And speaking to some of these names, I know you wanted to kind of bring forward a couple of those names that might not be as well known as insights into how she's offering this kind of divine mirror to more of our full humanity.
Right. Yeah. I recently discovered an over 1,500-year-old prayer that people first prayed in the year 400 towards the Black Madonna. And within it, there are over 100 names that they called her throughout this prayer. And I love how some of these names really speak to her intimate connection to us. She's like that like loving mother that comes directly to her child's need and shows up in her child's life. And so some of the names that are in this 1,500-year-old prayer are robe for the naked and bereft of hope. Robe for the naked and bereft of hope. Another one is wood of shady leaves where many shelter. Another is she who shows the way, this idea that the divine is walking the path that we're on, our unique journey in life, and she shows the way. We can trust that. We just need to listen and lean into her guidance. And I love how these names really point to her embodied presence in our lives. If people are like me, I grew up in spiritual contexts where God was kind of like far away and out there and would every once in a while, drop down on earth to say a thing or two. But for the most part, I didn't experience the divine as within me and around me and walking my path alongside me. And so these names of just intimacy and shelter and embodied presence are so beautiful. And they're people have been using these for 1,500 years. And one of the things that I love about these names is they really invite us into this close relationship that she longs for with us. They say something about how she wants to transform us by being in relationship with us. And it's amazing because as a social psychologist, I've researched a lot about what happens when we're in close relationship with someone else. How does my sense of self, and I grew up in the American context, so I have an extremely independent and individualistic sense of self. It's not a bad thing. It's how I am. And yet social psychology research shows that even someone as independent as I am, if I join in close relationship with someone else, my sense of self literally expands to include the resources and perspectives of that close other. We are transformed by our very close relationships. So let me give you an example of this from my time teaching as a professor. I had a student who I was advising. I was assigned to be her advisor. And so, we were going over all of her coursework at the beginning of the semester, and I needed to give her insight and some advice on what classes to take in order to graduate on time with her major. And she was a psychology major. And so as part of the psychology major, she needed to take a course on physics, just part of the requirements. And this particular student, her name was Ivy. She was terrified to take physics. She kept telling me, Dr. Cleveland, please don't make me take this class. I cannot do math. I cannot do physics. This is not going to work. I can't take this class. She was terrified in my office. And I remember telling her, Ivy, we can postpone this for another semester, but at some point you're going to have to take physics. It's just a part of the requirement. We can get you tutors. We can support you, but at some point you're going to need to take this class. And then she went away and, we decided to postpone it till the next semester. But the next week she came back into my office and she said, Dr. Cleveland, I can sign up for physics. I can register for the course. And I thought, that's weird. What happened? What changed? She said, well, I met this guy. And sure enough, in the past week, she had met this guy and started dating him. And now they were very close. And it turns out this guy was a physics major. And so now she felt like she had the resources to take physics because she knew she wasn't doing it alone. She knew that she had this close other who had now been incorporated into her sense of self, walking alongside her and would be there every step of the way as she faced this challenge. And that's exactly how social psychologists have learned to understand the self. When we are connected to close others, not only are we not alone, but their resources are calculated in our resources. We can do things that we thought we couldn't do. And I love how this is exactly how the Black Madonna's deep, intimate connection with us transforms us too. We can learn to incorporate her and all her resources and perspectives into our sense of self because she's inviting us into this deep and close relationship where we're intimate, we're close others with her. We are connected. And this is what happened with Joan of Arc. You know, as we look across history, some of the bravest, most incredible, most transformed people, if you look deep into their biographies, you see that they were devoted to the Black Madonna. There's something special about her. And Joan of Arc is an example of that. Joan of Arc was obsessed with the two Black Madonnas in particular, the Black Madonna of Orleans outside Paris and the Black Madonna of Moulins, which is about 3 hours south of Paris by train. And Joan of Arc prayed to the Black Madonna of Moulins in 1429, right before she went to battle to face off against the most oppressive powers of her day. And we often hear this really interesting quote from Joan of Arc that's become famous. And it says, I am not afraid, for I was born for this. And, you know, you see this phrase everywhere. And it's actually not a historically accurate phrase. It's been truncated and also despiritualized, because what Joan of Arc actually said is, I am not afraid because my God is with me. I was born for this. And she reportedly said this right after she went to pray with the Black Madonna of Moulins, who happens to look like she's going to war. She looks like she's wearing armor, and she's massive, and she's powerful, and she's majestic. And after encountering the Black Madonna, Joan of Arc was able to say, I can do this because God is with me. It was that close relationship that really expanded her sense of self. And so it's just fascinating to see the ways in which the self can be transformed by close others. And it starts to get really interesting when that close other is the Black Madonna.
What a great story. And it really illustrates your key point around that sort of that opening to a deeper kind of intimacy expands your access to all kinds of capacities that can help us in life. Very, very interesting. And I want to circle back earlier. You had started to say something around the Black Madonna, she longs to connect with us. And so, you know, you start to shift out of the more academic, like studying as a phenomenon, to the more personal, intimate, spiritual, where you really see the desire, the agency, the love, the connection coming bi-directionally, not just we're worshiping an abstraction, but it's like there's an intimate relational dance. And I wonder, you know, since so many people have kind of learned to relate to spiritual figures in more of an abstraction, like how do you make that shift into where it starts to become like a very personal sense of felt connection, sense that the Black Madonna really has desires for us as well in that relational dance?
So the Black Madonna invites us into this intimate relationship. And yeah, it's true. I mean, I had to kind of learn, how do I relate to this divine being in a way that's different than what I've been taught to relate? And one of the things that I love about the Black Madonna that I see across history is she seems to really invite us into naming her. I mentioned how, you know, there are tens of thousands of names for her that are many of them are very specific and very unique based on how the Black Madonna showed up in people's lives and what their needs were. But this long history of people naming the Black Madonna based on their specific experiences and based on their specific needs teaches me something about my spirituality. It teaches me that one of the ways to connect with the Black Madonna that has been done historically is to identify my need and then bring that to her. And more often than not, when I have done that, when I have said, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I need, she has given me a name, or together a name has arisen in my imagination that affirms my need and affirms her connection to my need. And so when I went on that 400-mile walking pilgrimage across all these teeny tiny mountains in central France, while I was in one of those little towns, I went into a small antique bookstore and I asked the bookseller, do you have any books on the Black Madonna? Because I'm constantly looking for resources on her. And he sold me a book from 1936. That had all the Madonnas of that whole region, and many of them were Black. And so I was flipping through that book. And meanwhile, I'm on this pilgrimage because I'm specifically looking for a divine being who speaks to my female body and speaks to my Black body. So I'm looking for this divine being that props up my experience. And in this book, and I had never seen this image anywhere online. It's almost impossible to find online, even now that I know what I'm looking for. In this book from 1936, there was an image of this extremely obscure Black Madonna who lives in a hamlet of about 5 families in the middle of the mountains. And there's this fierce image of her. She is holding her baby Jesus. He's more like toddler size on her hip. And she's kind of got one hip off to the side. And she is throwing side eye, sort of this like glance down in the corner. And there is a white male priest praying to her. And so this stance of defiance, this stance of, I'm not here for anything that white patriarchal religion is offering you, was so powerful. And I started calling her Our Lady of the Side Eye because she has the fiercest side eye. And that's an example of me just being honest with the Black Madonna. This is what I'm looking for. I need to know that you are echoing the cries of Black women and Black women across the lineages who've been impacted by patriarchal religious systems. I need to know that you are here, you are with me. And I find this image of this, Black Madonna that's over 1,000 years old, with this powerful, powerful statement against patriarchal religion. And so when I'm honest about my need, I often find that the Black Madonna comes in and gives me a name to assure me that she's here. And I think that's one of the pathways that we can all take.
I love that, Our Lady of the Side Eye. That is awesome. And also just it creates a more intimate, unique relationship as well, which is what every relationship is. Well, I wonder if you can talk a little, I mean, it's got to be very powerful to do this kind of a pilgrimage that you did. So let's talk a little bit about the inner pilgrimage. How do you start to develop a practice where that relationship comes alive? So it's like in your heart, it's in your spirit, that sort of intimate dialogue. And then you just talk a little bit about that, and then you can guide us on a practice to help make that real.
I would love to. For me, one of the things that I've learned about the Black Madonna and all my work is that she's embodied in so much of what I've been taught, both in academia and in a lot of spiritual spaces. It's like, I just need to get my head right, whether I need to learn specific things or I need to do enough meditation to clear out my mind so it's empty. Whatever it is, it usually has to do with my head. At least that's what my experience has been. And the Black Madonna is really about body, and the Black Madonna, she's also, she can hang with the best of the intellectuals. She's unbelievably smart, but she's also really interested in how sensations that are coming up in our bodies give us insights into who she is and what we need. And so part of my pathway has been just simple things, connecting with my breath, connecting with my body, going on long contemplative walks. And so I'm going to take us into just a short embodied practice that gives us a little tiny glimpse of the ways in which the Black Madonna wants to meet us in our bodies. And then we'll also have a chance to connect with her and identify if a name comes to the surface. Okay, so let's begin this practice. I want to invite you to let your body move. Maybe it needs to stretch a little bit. You might need to dance. I'm a little bit limited because I need to stay on camera, but you do what you need to do. Sometimes it's good to move just a little before we settle into our bodies and work through any tension that might be there. And when you feel ready, I'm going to invite you to come into some stillness. And you may want to soften your eyes or close your eyes, just to give you some time to arrive and some focus, a little bit of inward focus as we move into our bodies. And just breathing in and out. Let's just use our breath to become more aware of what's happening in our bodies, even if we're just focusing on the breath coming in and coming out. And in this meditation, the Black Madonna is welcoming you. There's no part of you that is not welcome. In the multitudes of her Blackness, everyone is welcome. Every experience is welcome. every urge, even the ones that we might find shameful or think of as shameful, they're welcome. There's no part of you that repels her. And she welcomes in your highest self, the most free, conscious, loving version of you. And taking a deep breath. In the same breath, she welcomes in the frightened little child. That little child who wants to protect and defend. The warrior who wants to go to battle. The hermit who wants to hide in a cave. The exhausted person who has lost touch with their truth. All parts of you are welcome in her blackness, which contains multitudes and the most powerful medicine on earth. So here is a place in your breath and in your body where you can get curious about who you really are. Who is here to be welcomed? Who is here to be welcomed? What are all the different parts of you, the young and the old, the shy and the exuberant, the spiritual and the material? She welcomes your tiredness, your loneliness, your fear of speaking your truth, and your fear of what other people think. The part of you that's sad for yourself and your own losses is welcome right here in her presence. This part of you that is sad on behalf of the collective, she sees you too. She welcomes your size, your bigness and your smallness. She welcomes your fat and your fascia. They're all welcome. She welcomes your exact experiences of mental and physical ability. She invites them all, and she invites you in all of who you are to be welcome here. There's room for fear and insecurity and doubt in her presence. And there's space here for expansion and creativity and curiosity and joy. It's safe to ask questions in her presence. There's love here for the anger and the terror and the trauma that we carry in our bodies. And the Black Madonna's invitation is to just relax into the full expression of who you are. Because all of your variety and all of your different parts can be found in her infinite and expansive blackness. So let's just take a few breaths, inhaling and exhaling the entirety of ourselves. Inhaling into all the parts of ourselves. And exhaling into all the parts of ourselves. Just letting ourselves feel our wholeness, knowing that she's right here, welcoming every aspect of who we are. Because nothing confounds her and nothing repels her. She has seen it all and she holds it all. And the Black Madonna is wise and all-knowing, and she knows exactly where you are in your life journey today. Across history, she has given people unique names that they can carry as a reminder that she is intimately and imminently present in their lives. So let's take a moment to listen to some of these names. The source of our protection, flower of incorruption, love surpassing all desire, protection against unseen enemies, Mother of Mercy, bridge between earth and heaven, Our Lady of Ferguson, source of milk and honey, life of mythical feasting, Our Lady of Solitude, never empty treasure house of life, cause of our joy, star of the sea, Our Lady of Tenderness, Queen of Heaven, Throne of Wisdom, Gothic Madonna, Mother of Sorrows, Comfort of the Afflicted, Gate of the Dawn, Mother for the Journey, Our Lady of Peace and Good Voyage. Just taking a moment to breathe in and out, returning to the breath. The Black Madonna might want to give you a unique name for her. A name that you can carry with you as a reminder that she cherishes all of who you are and is intimately and imminently present in your life. So let's take a moment and listen carefully to what the Great Mother, the Black Madonna, might have to say. And if no words come, that's okay. Just being in her presence is such a gift. And perhaps there's something you'd like to share with the Black Madonna about your personal story. And if you'd like to do that now, just know that she listens deeply and completely understands you and your world and affirms and stands with you. So if there's anything you'd like to share, let's take a moment to do that. And just take a few more breaths, just inhaling and exhaling the entirety of ourselves, all of ourselves, knowing that in this moment we are held intimately and imminently by the Black Madonna. Letting ourselves feel this wholeness. And as we take our moments, we can awaken a little bit, open our eyes. If they've been closed, make a little bit of movement and sounds. Moving back into a different type of awareness. And welcoming all that we experienced in this short practice.
Thank you for that. That was very tender and sweet and very beautiful. And kind of struck me that so often when we get involved in a relationship, particularly a longer term, deeper relationship, we create these little pet names for each other. And that's sort of similar. It's like a signal that we've reached a certain level of intimacy with another being.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that then when you use that name and call upon it as it comes to us, that it allows for that sort of intimate connection to flourish more?
Absolutely. I've used my own names and borrowed across history for some of the names that really stand out to me. And I'm able to connect in a way that immediately in my body. One of the names that's from that 1,500-year-old list is the enclosure of the God whom nothing can enclose. The enclosure of the God whom nothing can enclose. And whenever I'm struck with fear because something's happening in society that I disagree with and I think is wrong and scary, or someone I love in my life is like learning a lesson the hard way and they're making decisions that I wish they weren't making, I just call out that name, the enclosure of the God whom nothing can enclose. And that immediately helps me to connect with her vastness. And once I connect with the Black Madonna's vastness too, I'm able to see, oh, okay, so she's not just here with me. I'm reminded in this moment that she's roaming the earth and she's here with everyone. And I can surrender that my need to control this situation to her. I can let go of some of that fear. I can let go of some of that need to interject and force people to do things my way from a place of fear. And that just opens me up and I find myself breathing more deeply and I find my shoulders relaxing and I'm like, oh, that's right. It's like, I'm not here all alone dealing with this really scary situation. So yeah, these names, and that's one I've borrowed from history, but it really resonates with me. And so these names just open up my spiritual imagination and help me to connect with that in a much more effective and deeper way.
Yeah, I think that is really helping me open my eyes to that power of that as a practice. Sort of like when you're saying that we become intimate with certain qualities, when we bring them into our intimate space, then each name is like a portal into another facet or dimension of the full panoply of attributes. And sort of like, oh, it's like I need the vastness now. I need the blood power. I need the whatever. It's like
exactly.
It's like an invocation of a larger archetypal energy for whatever medicine is needed in the moment. It's really beautiful. Beautiful. Well, one thing I'm just curious a little bit to ask also about the imagery too. So there's the intimacy around naming, and then you went to different shrines in the Our Lady of the Side Eye. You sort of like is there a process also finding specific imagery that really speaks to us so that we can kind of like call forth that visual when in moments of need?
Yeah, and that's what's so wonderful about the Black Madonna is, she's art too. She's sacred art. And so every Black Madonna statue looks different. The bodies vary. There are Black Madonnas that are thin. There are Black Madonnas that are full figured or fat. There are Black Madonnas that are gender non-conforming. There are Black Madonnas that are pregnant. There are Black Madonnas that are breastfeeding. And so. And then, of course, sometimes their shrines have other figures in them too, like Our Lady of the Side Eye. And so a big part of engaging with the Black Madonna is also engaging with the ways that people have depicted her across history. And there's so much there because there are over 450 official Black Madonnas around the world, and all of them look very different. And they all tell a different story. And I kind of think of the Black Madonna's stories like Marvel superhero origin stories. Each Black Madonna has her own origin story that also says a lot about who she is and how she shows up in the world. And so you can take the names, both the traditional names and the ones that we give her, and then also the way she looks and how her stance or what she's doing in her shrine, and then also the stories of how people have experienced her. So there's a lot to dive into.
Do you recommend that it's useful to get a number of different images and create an altar, Black Madonna, a kind of altar, so you can kind of work with different qualities or attributes as the need arises?
That's been helpful for me. And I imagine, I think, I imagine a lot of people have kind of their one or two shrines that they might be most connected to, but then they turn to some of the other ones when they really need to. And so that's what's neat about her is like the multitudes of her Blackness and the depth of her Blackness and the profundity of her Blackness really shows up in the diversity of the shrines. And so it's pretty powerful.
Well, I'd love you to share a little bit more about like the sort of the process of taking in this sort of energetic, if you will, and like starting to really embody it in our own lives. And so, because part of what I hear is that there's this fuller embrace of all of our humanness, not just an idealized abstraction, but like really seeing the divinity in all of ourselves. And then how does that really sort of translate into an embodied life as we sort of start to activate it? With that connection?
For me, it's been looking a lot at my behaviors and how I move through the world. And so when I was coming back from that first pilgrimage, I remember saying to myself, okay, Christina, you can go back to the United States and write some papers on this experience and maybe write a book about this experience. Or you can go home and allow her to transform your entire life, to really look at everything in your life through this new lens that the divine is with you and for you in your womanhood and in your Blackness. And what are the implications of that? And so I started to look at my fears. Some of the fears that I've held my whole life, that I'm not lovable, or that if I show up as too needy, I'll overwhelm people and I'll repel them. Or if I don't perform at a perfect, 10 out of 10 on everything, I'm not worthy. Or as a woman or as a Black person in this world, I'm always going to be afraid and traumatized because that's just what life is like, And so I started to look at some of those deep fears that kind of had been in me for so long that I kind of just assumed that they were just going to be a part of my reality. And I returned to those fears and I said, okay, so if the Black Madonna is really here with me, and standing with me and also inviting me into the resources of all her expansive wisdom and experience and knowledge and power, then let's start to talk about these fears and the behaviors that come out of those fears. And let's start to invite her into those. So I feel like across history, people have typically gone to the Black Madonna when all other hope is gone. They've tried everything else and they're desperate. And so it's taking those deep fears, it's taking that deep shame that almost was like a factory preset in our bodies as we were born into this world, into the particular families and societies that we're born into. And we've carried them for so long that we almost don't we almost wonder, is it possible for the divine to show up in this? And this is the Black Madonna is like, yeah, absolutely. This is what I do. I show up for people in their deepest need. And I'm inviting them to be honest with me about that. And that's where I think the embodiment transformation starts to happen.
Beautiful. Well, you are such an inspiration and I love the insights that you're sharing. And I want to spend some time talking explicitly about how people can go deeper with you. And so first of all, we're just very blessed that Dr. Cleveland has agreed to partner with the Shift Network on a brand new program. It's called Embody Your Sacred Wholeness through the Black Madonna. Experience deep levels of spiritual healing, self-acceptance, and feminine empowerment. In many ways, it is the powerful deepening, opening, and healing that is beginning with this call here today, that it's really establishing the Black Madonna as an intimate presence, a resource, an ally, a guide for your life that isn't an abstraction, that is about a deep level of embodiment and healing. So you can find this program at the URL blackmadonnateachings.com, blackmadonnateachings.com. It's a 7-week program. There are no prerequisites. It's really just if you feel the intuitive nudge that this is important for you, that this has medicine for you, that this is part of your healing, then you're warmly welcome to join. And so Dr. Cleveland, let's talk a little bit about, first on the high level about where you're going to be taking people by the end of the journey, and then I'll read out the module titles and give a preview of each and what's coming.
Absolutely. So we're going to go on a pilgrimage. We're going to go and encounter 7 different Black Madonnas. And we're going to allow each unique one to knock on the door of one little part of our story and offer us presence and offer us healing and offer us an opportunity to bring to the surface some of these things that maybe, we haven't looked at in a while, or we want to look at them, but we haven't felt like it's been safe enough or we've been empowered enough to look at them. And so this is all about kind of identifying ways to bring the Black Madonna into our very specific lives. And so we're going to start with 4 sessions on really looking at how the Black Madonna wants to transform us on the inside, give us a connection to her love that's all powerful, that kind of gives us the confidence to go deeper into our lives and to uncover some of the aspects of our lives that maybe we've been afraid to uncover. And then we're going to allow her to move us into addressing our needs, our deepest needs, and relinquishing fears and offering our grief to her. And so we'll be doing a lot that's really focused on inner transformation. And then the second part of the course, we're going to see how she doesn't want to just change us on the inside. She also wants to heal the way that we relate to the world. And so we're going to take time to look at our relationships and the ways in which we often are led by fear in some of our relationships and then need to control the situation. And she's going to come and help us relinquish control to her. We're going to look at how we move through this world and speaking our own truth. And the situations in which we're much more afraid to speak our truth. And so she's going to help us stand strong in her truth. And then we're also going to look at the Black Madonna's relationship to justice. And so between looking at the inner transformation and the outer transformation, we're going to invite her to really transform our entire being.
That's a great overview. And let me read out the specific module titles. You can maybe give a little preview of what's coming in each. So module 1 is called The Transforming Power of the Black Madonna's Love to Guide Your Step Toward Healing.
Yeah, we're going to visit this week the Our Lady of the Good Death. That's her traditional name. And she is known for helping us die to our false selves and awaken to our true selves. And our true selves are the ones that are totally empowered by her, totally flourishing in her. And we can connect with her right away at the beginning of our journey so that we know throughout the rest of these 7 weeks, we are standing with Our Lady of the Good Death, who is helping us die to all the things that have held us back, all of the ways that society has shamed us or caused us to fear or hurt us. We can start to turn towards those things with her, knowing that she will help us be born again in this new way in her arms.
That's awesome. I think module 2 has the best title from my perspective. Release your needs to she who cherishes our hot mess to feel fully supported and transformed by her all-embracing love.
Yeah, she who cherishes our hot mess is my nickname for the Black Madonna of Vichy, who's traditionally called Our Lady of the Sick. And yes, she is the Black Madonna who is dying to hear our greatest needs, our loudest needs, the ones that, we were told, oh, don't be too needy or don't be high maintenance, or, she's the one who says, you can bring your most needy self to me because that's actually a pathway for us to connect. And I want to transform you, but I need to know who you really are. I want you to expose your true self to me. So she gives us this incredible opportunity to really show up with our poopy diapers and our bad attitudes and whatever, because she says, I'm loving you with all of this. And it's actually you showing up as your true self that feels like a special offering to me because we can get real. So she's the Black Madonna who just loves to be real and invites us into our realness.
That's awesome. Module 3, relinquish your tightly held fears as you pivot from fear to abundance in the presence of she who showers us with miracles.
Yeah, this Black Madonna in Mauriac, France, is just incredible because she's the miracle worker. And she made it snow when it was like the middle of summer, just to show people that she was able to provide for them in the middle of a drought, and they were desperate in need of water. And so she's the Black Madonna that we can really, really uncover the scariest fears where we feel like we've given up all hope. And we'll have a chance to experience her showing up in a miraculous way in our lives.
Module 4, offer your grief to she who holds the world in her womb so you can connect to spiritual empowerment during life's toughest times.
Yeah, so this is really, this module is really about connecting with grief and really identifying how grief often is a really scary liminal space. And we often are holding pain of something lost, and we haven't yet experienced the good thing that comes from that, or the new thing that comes, because oftentimes life and death are connected. And when something dies, something really beautiful is going to be reborn. And so this particular Black Madonna, who is visibly pregnant in her statue, which is just fascinating and beautiful, she's the one who invites us to start to see our grief as a womb space. And we can actually snuggle up as, preborn infants in her womb and really rely on her umbilical cord and trust that she's giving us everything that we need. And she's giving us a vision for how we're going to be born into the world in a new way. So this is a really mystical week that I'm looking forward to.
Module 5, relinquish control to she who loves by letting go, so you can lead from a place of love, not fear.
One of the things that patriarchal religion taught me the most is that in order to be a spiritual leader, I kind of need to control other people. I need to have a lot of power over them. They need to listen to me. They need to trust me. They need to believe me. And so one of the things I love about the Black Madonna is that she invites us into a completely different way of leadership, particularly spiritual leadership. I mean, all of us are spiritual leaders in some way, whether it's younger people in our lives who listen to us or we have influence over, whether we're teachers or professors or, what, we have all these different spaces where we have influence. And oftentimes when people are making decisions or the larger community is making decisions that we disagree with, we want to exert control over the situation. And I found that I tend to move into those situations with a lot of fear. If I don't stop them from doing this, then bad things will happen. So the Black Madonna teaches us a whole new way of thinking about spiritual leadership. And she really invites us into loving by letting go. And so she shows us that you can love people and also trust her love for them and her ability to connect with them in a way that allows you to relinquish the fear and no longer be as obsessed with the outcome, trust her, and be able to move into relationship with them in a way that's not controlling, in a way that's not fear-based. Instead, it's love-based. And so the motivation's different, the vibe is different, the freedom is different. And this is a huge lesson for those of us who've been raised in any sort of religious, patriarchal context, but it's so healing. Yeah.
Super powerful. Module 6, speak your truth alongside the God of Joan of Arc.
I found that as I journeyed toward the Black Madonna and kind of in my feminine and feminist awakening, I really struggled to embody my truth. And I really struggled to stand up to the people in my life that needed to know my truth, because I wasn't walking in integrity and authenticity, because I was hiding what I really thought about things, particularly, important things in the world, politics, religion, etc. And the Black Madonna of Mulan, who empowered Joan of Arc, is so, so, so powerful at helping us connect first with our own truth and uncover truths about ourselves that maybe we've been disconnected from because we've been so disconnected in our bodies, but also to stand in our truth and speak that truth to ourselves first, and then to our beloveds, and perhaps even to society. And once we root ourselves in her identity, the way that Joan of Arc did, we can find our truth and speak it out with some fierceness, which is really beautiful.
Mm. And module 7, follow Our Lady of the Side-Eye onto the path of embodied justice and sacred activism to make a difference in our world.
Yes, we get to return to Our Lady of the Side-Eye and her fierce anti-patriarchal, anti-white supremacist stance, and see that the Black Madonna, the Black Madonna's Blackness also holds multitudes of wisdom around justice, particularly racial justice. And so we'll get a chance to look at what her Black body means for how we move through the world today, this complex, diverse world with all sorts of oppression. And we're going to invite Our Lady of the Side-Eye, who's been around since the 1100s, to give each of us, regardless of our racial background, each of us a specific path to how we can move through the world in a way that really honors the Black Madonna's Black body too.
Just an awesome program. So thank you so much for putting this together and offering it through the Shift Network. Really blessed to have this. So I'll share a few more other things about it. So again, you can find the whole program laid out under blackmadonnateachings.com. So you get not only the 7 90-minute live sessions with Christena, which is going to include your time to ask questions, do interactive exercises, build community. You also get recordings, video and audio from every session, as well as word-for-word transcript, plus weekly exercises for home and a Facebook community to support you in deepening your experience. On the page, you'll also see a number of extra bonuses that enhance your journey as well. There's an artistic rendering called the High Resolution Image, Our Lady of the Side-Eye. You want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So the only image online of Our Lady of the Side-Eye is that one from 1936. And so I asked an Afro-Filipino artist named Layli Frazier to reimagine her and bring her into the 21st century. And so I commissioned this personally by Layli Frazier, and I haven't given it out to anyone. So you'll get a chance to see her fierce side-eye and her stance and how she really stands up for women and for Black people.
Super cool. In addition, on the page, you also find there's top 5 sessions from our Mystic Summit. Those are some of our most powerful teachings from the 2022 Summit. And in addition, there's one bonus that is a special bonus you get when you sign up by midnight today. That's called Mothered by God, a luxurious, healing, and empowering spiritual bath. It's a video teaching with Christena. Christena, you want to share a little bit more about Mothered by God?
This is like going to the spa. It really is. It's if you just want to be lavished with the mothering love of the divine feminine, this is for you. If you just want to be reminded that you are seen, that you are heard, that your cries matter, that your joy matters, this is when I watch this or I turn to the notes of this, if I just need a blanket of warmth and love. So it's just 90 minutes of affirmation that you matter and that you are seen by the divine feminine. It's really, 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 really luxurious.
That sounds totally awesome. Well, what a beautiful extra bonus and a great reason to sign up by midnight tonight to get that right away. So it's going to be an amazing program, as you can tell. We're very excited about it. We've kept the investment very accessible for it. It's just 3 payments of $128, or you save 10% when you pay up front with one payment of $349. The course is going to start April 4th, run Tuesdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings and the transcripts and the community as well. So I also encourage you to read through the testimonials on blackmadonnateachings.com. There's great testimonials like theologian and badass activist Christena Cleveland journeys through liberation definitely reveals a path for each of us. And that's Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams. The Black Madonna chose well when she chose Christena Cleveland to tell her story, from Matthew Fox, also a Shift faculty member. Some great testimonials of the power of her scholarship and her transformational teaching, really giving a sense of a window into how your life can be changed when you really engage this as a practice, and to take on a relationship with the Black Madonna as an intimate connection, a spiritual connection, one that can sustain you through hard times and then open you to all sorts of new possibilities and healings as well. So you're in for a treat. If you choose to join, you're in great hands, and you get that special bonus, Mothered by God, when you sign up by midnight tonight. So Christena, this has been an awesome hour. Really love just your powerful enthusiasm and the depth of practice really that you've done with the Black Madonna. So just anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering joining you on the deeper dive journey.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Everyone says I'm enthusiastic about the Black Madonna, but I can't not be enthusiastic about the Black Madonna because everything changed when I met her. And she is the queen of transformation. She is the queen of healing. She is the queen of, this is the worst case scenario, but somehow she's going to make it all better. She's a miracle worker, and she wants to know each of us. So I'm just hoping that you'll join us on this journey and pilgrimage with us to 7 different Black Madonnas. And I'm looking forward to learning from you all too.
Well, thank you for that warm invitation and your wonderfully liberating presence today. So thank you all for joining as well. And you're warmly welcome to join in the full program, Embody Your Sacred Wholeness through the Black Madonna. And you can find it all at blackmadonnateachings.com, and you get the special Mothered by God bonus when you sign up by midnight tonight. So thank you all. And thank you, Christena, for a beautiful hour.
Thank you.